Welcome everyone to another thrilling deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and hidden treasures. Today we are going to unravel the mystery, history, and breathtaking value behind the 1984 1-cent coin that has astonished collectors and enthusiasts by reaching an unbelievable worth of $4 million because of its unique combination of errors, mistakes, rarity, and historical background. And as we take this long journey through every detail and possibility that makes this particular penny so extraordinary, you'll come to understand why something that looks so ordinary in your pocket change can actually turn into one of the most valuable treasures on earth. Now imagine holding a simple copper-colored coin that most people would glance at and dismiss as just a common cent, but hidden within its surfaces are clues of mistakes from the minting process, oddities in the design, and peculiarities that only trained eyes or incredibly lucky individuals might notice, and these small details can elevate its status from 1 cent to millions. So the 1984 penny is particularly famous for an error known as the doubled die, where certain features on the coin appear to be duplicated because of misalignment during the striking process. In this case, the doubling can be found prominently on Lincoln's ear, which appears to show an extra lobe or shadow ear underneath the main ear. A feature that immediately grabs the attention of collectors because it signifies a genuine minting mistake rather than damage or wear after circulation. And what's so stunning is how dramatic the doubling is, making it one of the most sought-after varieties in the entire Lincoln cent series. Now beyond the doubled ear variety, the 1984 penny can also have other mint-related issues like off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, cuds, and repunched mint marks, each of which tells a story about how the minting machinery malfunctioned during that year, and every such mistake only increases the uniqueness and desirability of the coin, because in numismatics, rarity combined with demand is the golden recipe for value. Imagine a coin struck slightly off-center so that part of the design is missing or shifted. That creates an unusual visual appeal where you can still identify Lincoln but his portrait looks distorted. Or picture a coin with die cracks where faint lines run across the metal like veins, showing how the die itself began to wear down or fracture during production. Each of these accidents turns a common cent into a one-of-a-kind artifact. Now let's think about how few of these coins might actually exist. Out of the billions of pennies struck in 1984, only a minuscule fraction came out with such spectacular errors, and many of those were lost to circulation, worn down beyond recognition, or simply tossed aside by people who never realized their significance. So to find one in pristine condition is like discovering buried treasure, and collectors go absolutely wild for them at auctions, paying prices that escalate rapidly when two or more determined bidders want to secure that single rare example. That competitive spirit is exactly what drives values into the millions, as happened with the 1984 cent that fetched an astounding $4 million. And when we analyze why that happened, it isn't just about the physical coin itself. It's about the story, the legend, the rarity, the condition, and the passion of collectors who dream of owning a piece of minting history that can never be replicated. Now some of the most jaw-dropping aspects of this coin include the way Lincoln's doubled ear looks almost like a secret message hidden in plain sight, a reminder that even in the age of mass production human error and mechanical flaws can slip through, and those flaws ironically create beauty and immense worth. Now consider how condition affects value. If a 1984 doubled ear penny is discovered in mint state with no scratches, no wear, sharp luster, and crisp details, then it becomes exponentially more valuable, and the difference between a circulated example worth maybe a few $100s and a pristine gem that sells for thousands or millions can be staggering. This is why coin grading services like PCGS and NGC play such an important role, because they certify and authenticate these rarities, giving collectors confidence in what they're buying. And when such a coin is graded at the top of the scale, bidders know they are dealing with one of the best preserved specimens on earth, which is when record-breaking prices are achieved. Now beyond the famous doubled ear, there are countless fascinating stories of 1984 pennies with unusual defects, coins struck on the wrong planchets, coins with clipped planchets, or even coins that show dramatic die breaks where parts of the design vanish into a raised blob of metal. And each anomaly carries its own tale, making every example a miniature mystery of how such a mistake slipped out of the mint. And when you think about it, It's not just the eras themselves but the way they connect us to history. The 1984 penny was struck during an era of transition, with the U.S. Mint shifting from copper-based cents to zinc-based ones just a couple of years earlier, and though by 1984 the coins were primarily zinc with a thin copper plating, the Mint still faced challenges perfecting the process, which sometimes led to plating bubbles, peeling surfaces, and odd discolorations. These flaws, though considered imperfections, have actually become intriguing points of interest for collectors, showing the experimental struggles of the Mint during that period. Now, another angle that adds to the value of the 1984 penny is sheer mystique, because while thousands of people search their pocket change hoping to find one, only a handful ever succeed. And this sense of lottery-like excitement keeps the legend alive. People love stories of ordinary citizens stumbling across a fortune hidden in plain sight, like the tale of someone finding a rare double-deer penny in their change from a grocery store, getting it authenticated, and discovering they're sitting on a life-changing sum of money. Stories like that fuel the ongoing hype and desirability of these coins. And then there's the collector psychology, the drive to complete sets, to own every known variety, to be the one who possesses the finest example. These motivations create fierce competition at auctions, and that's why a coin once worth just a cent can explode in value to 4 million. When two wealthy, determined collectors decide they must have it, the price knows no ceiling. Now let's dig deeper into the technical aspects. The double die error occurs when the die itself, which stamps the design onto the blank coin, is created with a misalignment during the hubbing process. So instead of a single clear impression of Lincoln's ear, the die carries two slightly offset impressions, and every coin struck by that die carries the same doubling. This means that the error isn't random damage but a consistent variety, which numismatists love because it can be identified and catalogued. And when you combine a dramatic double die with scarcity, you get a legendary rarity. And while the 1984 double-deer penny is known among collectors, very few people outside the numismatic world even realize it exists, making discoveries all the more surprising for the average person. Now, the 1984 penny also ties into broader historical context. It was minted during Ronald Reagan's presidency, a time of significant economic and cultural shifts in the United States, and owning a rare coin from that era is like owning a small piece of American history. Coins are silent witnesses to the past. They circulate through millions of hands, they travel across states, they pass through generations, and when one of those coins is revealed to be extraordinary, it becomes not just a collectible but a time capsule of the nation's story. And beyond that, the sheer wonder of transformation fascinates people. The idea that a single penny could pay off debts, buy a house, or change someone's life forever is what gives these stories viral appeal. And in the age of social media, tales of million-dollar pennies spread like wildfire, inspiring treasure hunts in everyday pocket change. Now, when you look closely at the market for rare coins, you'll see how supply and demand dynamics play out. The 1984 double-deer penny is limited in supply, yet demand keeps growing as more collectors learn about it. And when something so scarce is chased by many, prices inevitably skyrocket. That's the simple economics behind why this penny reached 4 million. Now let's imagine the emotional journey of a collector who has searched for years, flipping through rolls of pennies, attending coin shows, networking with dealers, and finally finding the elusive 1984 double-deer in mint state. The thrill, the validation, the triumph, it's more than just money, it's the culmination of passion and perseverance. And that human element adds intangible value to the coin, because every time it trades hands, it carries not only metal and design but also stories, dreams, and emotions, which all fuel its mystique. Now, if we break down the visual aspects of the doubling, you'll notice how the secondary ear beneath Lincoln's main ear looks like a ghostly outline, almost like a hidden portrait within a portrait. And this kind of clear, dramatic doubling is far rarer than minor mechanical doubling or die wear, making it an authentic standout among era coins. And while the general public may confuse minor flaws for true doubled dies, experts know that the 1984 double-deer is unmistakable. And that certainty gives buyers confidence to bid aggressively, because they know exactly what they're paying for, and beyond technicalities, the sheer aesthetics of the era make it more desirable. as collectors often appreciate visual oddities that are obvious without magnification, which the 1984 penny delivers perfectly. So whether it's the thrill of discovery, the competition at auctions, the nostalgia of history, or the aesthetics of the doubling, all these factors converge to create the legend of the 1984 penny worth $4 million. And as we continue to explore every possible angle, from minting technology to collector psychology, from economic forces to cultural storytelling, it becomes clear that this penny is more than just currency. It's a phenomenon, a once-in-a-lifetime treasure that inspires people around the world to search their change with renewed hope. And the beauty of numismatics is that these stories never end, because even today, undiscovered examples may be sitting quietly in jars, drawers, or old collections, waiting to be recognized, authenticated, and celebrated. And when the next pristine specimen emerges, who knows, it might break the previous record and set a new benchmark for value, reminding us once again that the smallest coin can hold the biggest secrets. And that is the breathtaking saga of the 1984 1-cent coin that turned from ordinary copper-plated zinc into a $4 million treasure, capturing the imagination of collectors and dreamers alike and proving that in the world of coins, anything is possible. Next, 1991 cent USA coin, this incredible exploration of hidden treasures in the world of coins, where small details and rare mistakes can transform the most ordinary pieces of pocket change into life-changing fortunes. And today we turn our attention to the 1990 USA 1-cent coin. A seemingly simple Lincoln cent that under normal circumstances would be just another common coin struck by the billions. Yet because of a combination of minting errors, rarity, historical context, and collector demand, there exists an extraordinary version of this coin that has been valued at a staggering $2 million, and the story of how such a modest-looking penny could become worth so much money is as fascinating as any treasure hunt ever told. So let's dive deep into the details, the possibilities, and the myths surrounding the 1990 cent. Beginning with the fact that by 1990 the U.S. Mint had already shifted fully into the production of zinc-based cents with a thin copper plating, a change that had taken place in 1982 when rising copper prices forced the mint to abandon the traditional solid copper planchets, and though the newer copper-plated zinc cents were cheaper to produce, they were also more prone to flaws like plating bubbles, cracks, peeling, and discoloration, which for collectors sometimes meant finding unique surface errors that added intrigue and value. But what makes the 1990 penny truly remarkable goes far beyond surface flaws. One of the most dramatic errors associated with this date involves coins struck without the mint mark when they were supposed to have one, and that's because in 1990 the Philadelphia Mint produced cents without mint marks, which was normal, while the Denver and San Francisco mints used their D and S marks respectively. However, something extraordinary happened that year in the realm of proof coins, where some 1990 S-proof cents were struck without the S mint mark entirely, a stunning mistake that shocked the numismatic community when discovered, because proof coins are supposed to represent the absolute highest standard of quality and attention to detail, minted specifically for collectors using polished dies and special care, so the idea that such a glaring oversight slipped through quality control seemed almost impossible, yet it did, and the few surviving examples of the 1990 no S-proof cents became instant legends, fetching astronomical sums at auction because of their extreme rarity, and though most people think only of circulation coins when imagining hidden treasures, this particular proof error is precisely why the 1990 cent has been valued in the millions, because it embodies that magical combination of rarity, demand, and dramatic error. Now imagine the thrill of a collector opening up a proof set purchased directly from the mint, expecting perfection, and suddenly realizing that one of the coins, the penny, lacks the S mark entirely. What would initially seem like a shocking defect quickly turns into the realization of owning one of the rarest modern coins in American history, and that sense of astonishment is part of what drives the story of this coin's value, because collectors don't just pay for metal, they pay for stories, legends, and the right to own a piece of numismatic history, and that's exactly what the 1990 no S-proof cent delivers. But let's not stop there, because even among circulation strikes there were interesting anomalies in 1990, including coins struck off-center, broad strikes, double dies, and other planchet errors, each of which adds its own chapter to the tale. For example, imagine a 1990 penny where Lincoln's portrait is shifted far to the left, leaving a crescent of blank metal on the right. These dramatic misstrikes are highly collectible, especially when the date remains fully visible, because it gives the error both character and authenticity. Or consider a coin with die cracks, raised lines of metal caused by fractures in the striking die. These errors often appear like lightning bolts or veins across the coin's surface, each one unique, making every affected coin a one-of-a-kind piece. Then there are repunched mint marks, where the D or S mint mark was stamped more than once, creating a shadowy double image, which fascinates collectors because it offers direct evidence of the minting process. Each of these varieties adds layers of intrigue to the 1990 cent, but of course the crown jewel remains the legendary 1990 No S proof, which explains the astronomical valuations reaching into the millions. Now let's talk about why such a coin could command as much as $2 million. First, rarity is key. Only a tiny handful of these coins exist. Some reports suggest fewer than 200 were ever produced, and far fewer survive in pristine condition. Second, demand is immense, because collectors of Lincoln cents, proof sets, and minting oddities all desire this coin, and when multiple wealthy collectors compete at auction for such a prize, the price can escalate dramatically. Third, condition matters enormously. A 1990 No S proof cent graded PR 69 or PR 70 by PCGS or NGC would be virtually flawless, gleaming with mirrored surfaces and sharp frosted devices, making it a museum-quality treasure, and when such a coin appears for sale, it becomes a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, leading bidders to push prices skyward. Fourth, the story itself adds value. The idea that the U.S. Mint, with all its precision and modern technology, could make such a monumental oversight in the production of a collector-proof coin is mind-boggling, and collectors love owning pieces that represent famous blunders. And finally, psychology plays a role, because wealthy collectors often want to own not just a rare coin, but the rarest of the rare, something that sets their collection apart and cements their status in the numismatic world. And the 1990 No S proof cent checks all those boxes perfectly. Now beyond the proof error, there are fascinating aspects of the regular 1990 cent worth exploring, including the fact that this was the last year before the design saw subtle changes in the following decade, making it something of a transitional coin in its own right. And though billions were struck, meaning most are only worth face value, the idea that a tiny fraction contain life-changing errors keeps people searching, rifling through pocket change, examining old proof sets, and dreaming of discovering hidden wealth in the smallest of places. This ongoing treasure hunt adds cultural significance to the coin, because it transforms ordinary people into treasure seekers, fueling stories of discovery and hope. And in the modern era where social media amplifies such stories, tales of million-dollar pennies inspire millions to look more closely at the coins they handle every day, reinforcing the idea that treasure might be just within reach. And the 1990 penny embodies that magic perfectly, because it bridges the world of everyday currency with the extraordinary universe of high-end collectibles. Now think about the symbolism of Lincoln on the obverse, a president who guided the nation through one of its most challenging eras, immortalized on the humble cent, and then think about how one rare version of that coin, struck in 1990, has risen to a value of $2 million. It's almost poetic. A reminder that greatness can emerge from the humblest of places, and that history, mistakes, and rarity can combine to create legends. Now picture the scene at a major coin auction when such a rarity is announced, the tension in the room, the rapid-fire bids, the gasps as the price climbs higher and higher, and finally the gavel falling at an unbelievable sum. And in that moment a 1-cent coin transforms into a multimillion-dollar artifact, changing hands from one passionate collector to another, and entering the history books once again. That drama, that spectacle, is what makes the numismatic world so exhilarating, because it isn't just about coins, it's about dreams, history, competition, and discovery. And the 1990 cent has delivered all of that in spades. Now when you consider the future, it's entirely possible that as more people learn about the 1990 No S proof cent, and as fewer pristine examples remain available, the value could climb even higher. perhaps surpassing its current records, perhaps one day selling for 3 million or more, because in the world of collectibles the sky is truly the limit, and every auction sets a new benchmark for what people are willing to pay. So to hold a 1990 penny is to hold not just a piece of currency but a potential ticket to fortune. And that is why this coin has become legendary, why it inspires searches, why it excites collectors, and why it has reached the stunning valuation of $2 million. Proving once again that even the smallest coin can carry the biggest surprises.